Hello, and welcome back to Wine-Inform. Alrighty, today we delve into Georgian wine. And for my fellow Americans, I mean Georgia the country, not Georgia the state. Sorry, Georgia, we're talking about Georgia. Oh, but before we get into the Georgian wine, if you're here, I think you're probably gonna like this. Yeah, you might want to stick around for this. In fact, you will want to stick around for this. So if you haven't done so already, be sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell icon so that you're notified when I release a video, which, by the way, I release them every Friday. And hey, if by the end of the video you really appreciate this new knowledge you're about to gain, then be sure to hit that thumbs up button. Anyway, with that being said, back to Georgian wine. Georgians actually refer to their own country as Sakartvelo, and they call themselves Kartvelebi. And, well, you'll see that word show up a lot in their language. Georgian supposedly actually came from the Persian word for the peoples, which they called them Gorj. So that's probably where that came from. So this country is actually part of Eurasia, which means it's settled between Europe and Asia. And the other Eurasian countries are Armenia, Azerbaijan, Mongolia, Belarus, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Republic of Moldova, Turkmenistan, Ukraine, and Uzbekistan. However, due to proximity and culture, Georgia is increasingly becoming thought of as part of Europe. So Georgia is just 26,911 square miles. It is bordered in the north by the Caucasus Mountains, and it is home to the highest peaks in Europe. It also has a lot of wine-growing valleys, deserts, lush greenery, caves, canyons, bamboo forests, and cold alpine climates, so their biodiversity. But beyond the astounding climates, Georgia is a democratic country full of fascinating history. It is said that the first Europeans arrived from Africa through Georgia, and Georgia's countryside is full of medieval churches and monasteries. Plus, the capital Tbilisi is a beautiful mix of modernity and pieces of the past, be that the old town, which reflects times in which Georgia was occupied by Persian rule and Russian rule, or other architecture like the Eastern Orthodox churches, the Art Nouveau structures, or even the old Soviet modernist ones. Tbilisi was also a powerful point of connection between Europe and Asia because of the Silk Road. It was probably part of the reason why Georgia's culture is so unique. I was already enthralled by the art, but the folk music, oh my gosh. Georgian culture is honestly so cool that I will be linking all the resources I found on those for your perusing pleasure in the description. But here is the really cool part, at least for us. Georgia is known as the cradle of wine. The oldest evidence of wine was found on Georgian pottery from 8,000 years ago. Georgia is actually home to 525 native grape varieties. Native. Quite a few of these were actually barely revived after phylloxera and mildew kind of swept through the nation, kind of like it did the rest of Europe. But Georgian wine persisted. So Georgian wine is characterized by skin and stem contact with the wine in these things called qvevri. And this goes for both reds and whites. With a rise in the interest in natural wine, it's really no surprise that wine adventurers have enthusiastically turned to Georgian wine. Interestingly, qvevri wines only account for 3% of Georgian wine production. So you're probably wondering, what is qvevri? Qvevri are these large clay, sort of amphora-like vessels. They don't have the handles, so they're not amphora. And they're often buried underground with only access through an opening at the top. But before making wine in the qvevri, the vessels are lined with beeswax. And wines made in qvevri are sometimes aged in them as well. Georgia has so many native grape varieties, but currently there are two that really stand above the rest. The Sapravi, a bold red, and the Rakatsteli, which is their iconic white. However, today we are trying Chateau Mukhrani's 2017 Goruli Mtsvane. Goruli Mtsvane is actually one of two Mtsvanes, Goruli Mtsvane and Goruli Mtsvane. Mtsvane actually means green in the Kartvelian language. While Goruli Mtsvane ripens very early in the season, Goruli Mtsvane is a white grape that ripens late. Goruli Mtsvane also has notes of lime and wildflowers and honey. And often it is mixed with another native grape, Chinuri, for sparkling wines. So, Georgia is the cradle of wine. However, the terroir and protected designation of origin is actually a relatively new concept there. Because of this, there's no specific region on any of Chateau Mukhrani's wines. However, modern winemaking is really starting to take off there, and given the amazing history and their astounding grapes and their methods, I really have no doubt that Georgian wine will continue to shine on a global scale, and perhaps we will begin to see Georgian wine territories flourish. Mukhrani has actually been a winemaking region long before the chateau got there. Excavations in the area have actually revealed traces of winemaking since the Stone Age. Plus, there is a historic Dionysus mosaic from the 2nd century residing in Mukhrani. Fast forward a few centuries, and the estate of Mukhrani was given in 1512 by King David of Kartvelebi to his brother, Prince Bagrat. Now, the Mukhrani estate stayed within the influential royal family of Bagrationi. However, the modern development of their wines really began with Prince Ivane Mukhrani. Prince Ivane Mukhrani, he went to France and learned about the art of fine winemaking. So in the late 1870s, he took this knowledge right back home and established a vineyard and a winery on his family's estate. Mukhrani wines began to gain attention from St. Petersburg, Moscow, Warsaw, countries in the Baltic, Paris, Vienna, and even some cities in the US. However, Georgia has been occupied many times by different peoples throughout history, and so things happen. Well, fast forward to 2002, and Chateau Mukhrani was restored by 4 businessmen who really wanted to combine the old ways with the new. So in 2007, the chateau began building their winemaking facility and harvesting grapes from their own vineyards. And because of their hard work, now, just like in, the 1870s through the 1890s, we get to enjoy Chateau Mukhrani wine in the US once again, which I'm really excited about. So once again, that was a lot of information all at once, and honestly, if I was to give you guys everything about Georgia or Sakartvelo, then I don't even know how many parts this video would have to be, but it'd be a lot. So I'm gonna go ahead and link all those resources and group them by category down in the description, so you can go ahead and check them out and maybe familiarize yourself with this really amazing country that's honestly has so much to show the world. So once again, we are trying Chateau Mukhrani's 2017 Goruli Mtsvane. But before we get tasting this Goruli Mtsvane, this is how much I spent on the wine. And I went to a specialty wine store in my area because, Georgian wine, even though it is seeing this resurgence, it is still a little bit tough to find. So if there's a specialty wine shop in your area, go ahead and give them a call, see if they have it. And most likely they will at least have a couple Georgian wines, because they really do seem to be getting hip. So definitely, you're not gonna find it at a liquor outlet, probably not. Most definitely not. But if you go ahead and you call up a wine store, they might have it for you. Did you see that? Oh, just kidding. Tiny dribble, tiny dribble. We are so close. So close. I will also mention that based on looking at this wine and based on what I've read about Chateau Mukhrani, I don't believe they use the qvevri method. I think they do definitely ferment these in an inert vessel that is not the traditional qvevri, but as qvevri only accounts for 3% of Georgian wine production, I'm not surprised. I think I would be a little more hard-pressed to find a specifically qvevri made wine, but if I do find one, I'll definitely share it with y'all. Alrighty, got it open, got it poured. So the first thing we do when we are evaluating is we look at it. Just describe what you see. Color, intensity, is anything floating in there? Honestly, the more descriptors you give it, if you can, the better, because it helps you in the long run if you're trying to compare it to other wines. So I'm gonna go ahead and get my handy dandy white sheety paper, and we're gonna take a look. So first of all, there is a teeny tiny little cork bit stuck to the side of my glass, which, as it is a natural cork, it's not like a lot, it's just one cork bit. It's not a big deal. So actually, whew, be gone, cork bit. The intensity is so light. Like, this looks like it's gonna be a light, crisp, refreshing kind of wine because it has the same color intensity as our Assyrtiko, actually, from, I don't know, a month ago. It has a very pale lemon yellow color, and it's got the color in the middle, and it really peters out towards the edge and looks very watery. Other than that little cork bit that was floating, clarity, amazing. It really does look so very fine. So beautiful. Isn't that gorgeous? Alrighty, appearance aside, let's sniff it. We're gonna evaluate the nose. So what we're gonna do now is see what kind of aromas we can pick out of it and what that can tell us about the wine. Let's give it a sniff. Oh, that's amazing. Okay, this straight up smells like paradise. I am getting like lemon and lime and like tangelo, and because it has a citrus, it has a sharp sort of zingy citrus and then a soft citrus. I'm getting clovers and honeysuckles, and I'm getting strong honey. It really does smell like an oasis. It smells like heaven. I think back to, you know, if anyone's familiar with passages from like the Bible or maybe the Torah, there's this land described as being flowing with milk and honey, and this really smells like something that you would find there. It really does. It smells like this ancient hidden delight. I really do feel like Dionysus right now. This is awesome. Oh, and the intensity of the nose is very medium. I'm sorry, I could wax poetic all day about how this smells, but I think you get the gist. Oh, it smells so good. It smells so good. I wish you guys could, I wish I could send you the scent because it's amazing. Okay, so we've looked at it, we've given it a sniff, we've been blown away. Now we get to do the fun part. We're gonna taste it. So that is evaluating the palate. Palate being your tongue. We're gonna see if we can taste everything we smelled and what are the things we can pick out about the wine based on swishing it around our mouth. So, cheers. Oh, so good. So yes, I tasted everything I smelled, which was awesome. But it did kind of sit medium on everything else, which was actually felt very fitting given the sort of floral and honey characteristics of this wine. So I do appreciate that. It had that medium acidity, medium alcohol at 12%, and medium finish, which was extremely pleasant because it is such a light-bodied wine. And I will say it was dry. Honestly, this is just delicious. This is so good. This is so good. Like I said, of course, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Very rarely do I meet a wine that I just don't like, but I really appreciate when a wine can deliver such, unique characteristics. So, a lot of wines grown in similar climates can have similar characteristics, so I think it's really fun to branch out and try something completely different, which was like this, Goruli Mtsvane. What I will say is this really does, because it feels so light and it falls medium on all those sort of wine characteristics right there. I do feel like this is something that would go extremely well with a lot of the Georgian cuisine that I've seen people sort of eat at lunchtime. If you're not familiar with Georgian cuisine, check it out. If you're vegetarian especially, you would adore it. There's a lot of bread, a lot of cheese, a lot of wine, good vegetables, there's some meat. Their food looks delicious. It looks so good. If you love bread, you're gonna love Georgian cuisine. So I do see this working extremely well with a sort of midday kind of meal. Just any sort of baguette kind of thing and a plate of just very light cheeses, maybe softer cheeses. I think this would work really well with that. A food that maybe is too strong in one direction of that like flavor spectrum, I think would be too overpowering for this, and I don't want to overpower it. So definitely those sort of mild midday kind of foods I do see working really well. Which is great for me because I love bread, so I am not complaining. Yeah, this wine honestly just makes me want to dine the way that, you know, the ancients did, lying down, being fed things. They didn't even have to lift a finger. That must be nice. I mean, it must be weird. I don't know, this wine makes me feel kind of connected to something deeper, something greater, which I think is really beautiful. Yeah, I think it's really beautiful. I mean, I've always felt like wine has been the most amazing intersection of humanity, art, culture, history, science, agriculture, just all of those things. And sometimes I think it's easy to lose sight of that when you're maybe just drinking a wine that's probably, you know, $5 a bottle, like or a $2 chuck. Like if you're gonna drink a wine like that, you're probably gonna that's not gonna be in the forefront of your mind. And I get it, but I think that this wine, and given Georgia's history with wine, I really am reminded of the beauty of wine and the beauty of what humanity has done. And I like that. I really do. I think it's really beautiful. I might pour myself a glass a little later and enjoy some bread with it because I love bread. I'm probably not going to do it outside though, because I went outside and I went, smells like rain. Thank you for joining me for this episode of Wine Reform. Yeah, it's been a blast. I really do get a kick out of getting to try wines from really cool places and share them with you guys. I love to spread the wine knowledge, so hopefully this was entertaining for you and maybe you guys will feel compelled to go try a Georgian wine. They do a lot of outdoor activity in Georgia. Like, there's just so much beautiful wildlife. I am curious, what's your favorite outdoor activity? I will say I'm very curious about that. Mine personally is I love going to the beach. Like, it doesn't matter how, well, maybe it does matter, but it doesn't matter how cold that water is. I love going. I will go to the beach in a sweater if I have to, and I will just like dip my toes in, but love the beach. That's my outdoor activity. So what is your favorite outdoor activity? I'd love to know. Oh, and can you bring wine there? Because like that makes it even better, not gonna lie. Anywho, it has been a blast, and thank you for being here with me. And yeah, I'm gonna have some bread and some wine, and I will see you guys next week. Bye-bye. 99 bottles of wine on the wall, 99 bottles of wine. Take one down, pass it around. 98 bottles of wine on the wall, 98 bottles of wine on the wall, 98 bottles of wine. Take one down, pass it around, 97 bottles of wine on the wall. Oh, come on. Oh, man. That was really in there. That was really in there.